In this video, we are going to be with the Hebards from Hebard's Travels. They're going to ask us some questions, we're going to ask them some questions, and we'll see what happens. Welcome back to RV Odd Couple. My name is John.
And I'm Mercedes. Long story short, we sold most of our possessions in pursuit of freedom, independence, and adventure.
Because life is so short, guys.
It is.
And in this video, we have the privilege of camping in the same campground as Laura and John Hebard. Right? Hebard? Close enough. Laura and John Hebard of Hebard's Travels. They've been doing this for 3 years. We're still fairly newbies, although they tell us we're experts now. And in this video, we're going to ask each other some questions that we think others would like to know. They're going to do half the questions, and then we're going to do half the questions. And at the end of the video, you're going to have to go to their channel to see the rest of the questions. Hope that makes sense, but let's have some fun today.
All right, so first question.
I love leaving the
In the magic, who wants to go
silicone
first?
bowl.
Ladies first.
Oh boy.
Laura.
Donut first. All right.
Oh, she got a donut.
I think I got one. Yep. Biggest mistake you see RV newbies make? Boy. The biggest mistake that we see RV newbies make is not paying attention when you're setting up and tearing down and getting into a conversation with those around you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
true.
So easy to miss steps doing that.
Sorry, I stole yours probably.
No, you didn't. But now we're all going to answer the same question so we get everyone's take on it. So, biggest mistake I see RV newbies making is probably not buying the proper tow vehicle for their trailer. And we saw two of them just this morning leaving the campground where it looks like this, just driving away. Because one didn't have a weight distribution hitch on, and one had way too small of a truck, and it's just. I remember actually making the comment, that's the guy who's going to sway and flip on the highway driving home.
Yep.
I think the biggest mistake I see people making is that they get so wrapped up in the accessories as far as like they grill and they do this and they have all this extra stuff outside and then they're only camping for 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
So I think less is more.
They show up to the campground and it's,
Yep.
Yes.
Everything everywhere. And usually they're way overweight, right?
oh, yeah.
And I guess I would have to say that people need to slow way down when you start RVing. You know, John and Laura talked about this a little bit. You really need to pay attention to everything that you're doing, especially when you're newbie RVer and you're pulling a rig that's usually bigger than your truck, right? So I would say go slow and ignore your neighbors. For some reason, they love coming up and talking to you, John, don't they? Right when you're doing the fifth wheel hooked up or doing something critical. Pay attention, focus, and go slow.
People talking to me are why I've run over wheel chocks.
Yeah.
And those things can take a beating.
All right, who's next?
You, honey.
All right.
Take the donuts.
Okay. I hope I'm not getting one of my questions because I put horrible questions in.
Oh no!
If you draw your own question, maybe you just throw it back
I
in.
know. Okay, no, this is, okay. Exit strategy. Do you have an exit strategy? And I
For
would
RVing?
Yeah, for RVing.
Oh.
Yeah, an RV exit strategy. I would say I don't see like not doing this. I could see doing this differently, but I could not imagine not RVing.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, going backwards, once you've experienced this freedom, independence, and the adventure you get every time you move,
Yeah.
I can't imagine moving back into the sticks and bricks. And so I would say Mercedes and I have no plan on stopping this at all.
We've been so creative on the road, we actually started our own business, and we like working for ourselves and managing our own time, and I just can't see us putting that in someone else's hands again.
Let's see, absolute worst case scenario, I would have to buy like an old 80s box van and move into that thing rather than come off the road and just go live down by the river and just pull a Chris Farley. I'd be happier with that than going back to an apartment.
In a van down by the river!
So group consensus, none of us are going to stop this ever.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, who's next?
I think
Which
it's,
John?
I'll go.
Okay.
My favorite NFL sports team,
Oh,
really?
boy.
Let me guess. My mother's busy making supper, so I guess it would have to be the New England Patriots.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm from Colorado, so it would have to be the Broncos.
Well, I'm not from either of these places, but I like the Green Bay Packers.
Packers.
Yeah, I'd have to say the Packers are my favorite too, just because I don't see their players doing stupid crap and ended up on the news being felons.
He used to be a Seahawks fan.
No, only because I grew up in Seattle. I didn't know any better.
That's awesome. That is a good question.
Oh, my turn for the bowl.
I see that was a very targeted question.
No, take it back. Daily routine balance of RVing.
Oh, this one's perfect for you.
That is.
We just asked you this the other night.
This is a train wreck. Trying to have a daily routine. Now, since we're doing daily videos, I have somewhat of a routine. Like I've got to wake up and like eat, film, edit, upload, and sleep. I have to do all that in the middle of the day somewhere. But as far as everything else, it's all a wash. After I get done eating breakfast, between finishing the video upload, it's anything and everything could possibly happen.
I'd say about the time that we wake up, finish breakfast, all the routine is out the window. Like that's about the routine that we get, and then after that, it's basically up to the future.
Well, it depends on what that day's video is going to be. I mean, I might just be sitting at the picnic table talking about something for 10 minutes, or we might be out at Niagara Falls. Who knows?
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Well, and every time you try to establish a routine, the next minute it's thrown out the window because you stepped outside the rig.
Exactly. Or moved, or you got changing weather.
Yep.
No, I asked this question because I'm desperately dying for a routine because I want to wake up every morning really early, get a lot of work done, and have like that consistency. And so I'm kind of struggling a little bit.
And she asked us about that, and I was like, oh, I got bad news for you.
And because Mercedes is struggling a little bit, I'm struggling a lot. One of the first questions that Mercedes asked John and Laura when we first met them at the fire we had the other night was, how do you get a routine? And they've been doing this for 3 years. I've never been into a routine. Mercedes loves to have her little blue book, and she spells out everything that's going to happen. And RVing, I just can't imagine ever being able to make a schedule and stick to it. So we're going to continue to try to make Mercedes happy and find her a routine. But as far as I'm concerned, the day rolls out and takes care of itself. I move on to the next thing that's right in front of my face. So that's it.
The routine just needs to be you wake up and you go to bed. Just keep it simple, kiss.
That's so true.
Things to avoid driving by sites. So I believe what we meant by this is so that you don't miss out on epic places to go while you're basically in the process of moving from one to another. So we've missed out on a couple of really cool things to go see and do over the years just because we take a different path. We drive right by something really cool and we always say, we'll come back later and do it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, another issue with that is we have a 41-foot fifth wheel. We're almost 65 feet when we're hooked up to the truck. It is not easy to pull over, even if you do see something you want to pull over to see.
We actually keep a journal of all the things that we miss out on, and then hopefully we can incorporate those the next time around.
Yeah.
And we're doing the exact same thing. John's right. When you're pulling a 65-foot rig, you just can't. We have to actually carry our own air with us because we can't go and try to find a gas station to put air in our tires. But I'm the guy that doesn't like to think too much about what we've missed. My wife looks at the things we've missed. We have missed Crater Lake. We have missed, Glacier Park?
Yeah.
We missed Glacier twice.
We were really close to the Grand Canyon. We didn't get there. And I'm the guy that thinks, you know what, we didn't get it this time. We'll get, like you guys, we'll get back there again eventually. But the truth is, right, every day is a blessing. So hopefully we'll get the opportunity to go back and visit those places again. And I said, I'm not too worried about an end game here. I plan on doing this for the rest of my life at this point.
That's a good point. I think the biggest thing I learned is that I don't take the time to do research. If I were visiting France, I'd know I don't know anything about the country, and I would go online and do research. I assume that, well, I'm American, I know what's there. And I don't. I need to research it and ask around, because people will tell you if you just ask.
Yeah.
It's a really good point.
Asking locals is a great way to figure out what's around you. You get to your RV park, your campground, just whoever is there at the office, just pick their brain.
Yeah.
They'll usually have a rack of pamphlets and stuff, and you can find more than you have enough time to go see.
I really hope I don't get my own question. Okay. Ooh, okay. This is a good question. I'm glad I got. Is your marriage better or worse since you started RVing? Because a lot of people worry about being in such a tight space with your significant other. I would say it's better, but don't be mistaken. I'm not saying that we don't fight. We drive each other crazy all the time.
We're married.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. But we get over it a little bit more quickly, and I find myself saying, how important is this really? You know, because I'll get so mad at something this big, and then it's like, okay, 5 minutes later, you just learn to move and focus on your points, and you can't avoid the issues, so you focus on communicating better. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, we've made a video on this. We were pretty clear with the RV Odd Squad that Mercedes had already filed for divorce, and then she tried to seduce me when I tried to help her after we sold the house, and we ended up getting back together. It was not a hard job. It was not hard to get me.
It wasn't a hard.
But I asked Mercedes if we could give our marriage and our family one more shot and to RV full time, and she bought into the idea, and here we are 10 months later, and our marriage has never, ever, ever been better. And I like what Mercedes said. You know, she said, you got to get over it quick. You really do. When you live in an RV and it's 300 square feet, and the weather's been raining for 3 or 4 days, and you got a 4-year-old that's running all over the place, and a dog that doesn't obey, you know, it can get pretty stressful. But we are getting better at getting through it quick.
Good.
It's such a waste of time to be pissed off at your partner.
Yeah.
Something that we always heard before we started RVing was that if we move into this tiny space, it's going to implode our marriage, and that everything will just be brought, you know, full center frontal, and we'll have to face it all head on. And that wasn't our experience. When we actually moved into the RV, we became a lot closer, we communicated better, we saw each other more, which were all things that were missing in our relationship prior.
The team, right?
Yeah.
It's a team.
Yeah.
Well, very much like John and Mercedes, we were going to get divorced before we got the RV. I was already looking for a place to move out into and was making plans to leave. And RVing ended up being, it was an idea that Laura presented, and I thought, well, yeah, why not? Why not give it another shot? Because, and we were talking about this before we even started filming, it's not so much that we wanted to get divorced, it's just that, you know, living in, you know, the suburbia American dream kind of life, we weren't presented with another option. It was, well, this is how your life's going to be, because society says that's what it's supposed to be, and you're miserable. Well, your option is, you know, what, medication, counseling, and divorce.
Right.
And I'm sure, you know, everyone tries the medication, the counseling, it doesn't work, so they get divorced, and, you know, by the time they're 60, they got 3 or 4 marriages under their belts, and they're never happy. And by moving into the RV, we found that we were able to spend so much more time together that we actually had the opportunity to work through issues, which, you know, I was medically retired for PTSD after my 3rd time overseas, so our issues were a little compounded. Like, my ability to communicate emotions is, up until very recently, was just non-existent. And, you know, that's not good for a marriage, especially when, you know, half the couple speaks in emotion and the other...
Are you saying I'm emotional?
Perish the thought. But yeah, so it made things really difficult, and finally it got to the point where it was another breaking point. Even though we were in the RV and living this, you know, full-time vacation, which is not really true, but you know, we were living this wonderful life that a lot of people want to live. We still had issues because I still hadn't figured out how to communicate. And early this year, it came to a head again and forced me out of my shell and forced me to figure it out, because it was either that or we're going to get divorced. So figured it out.
It was funny because when we first got to this park outside of Twin Mills, there's a sign out there, and it says, camping is the best therapy.
Yeah.
Cheaper than therapy.
Yeah,
Yes.
Camping is cheaper than therapy, and I just thought that was great.
100%.
So true.
Yeah.
Yep.
My turn?
Your
My
turn.
turn, okay.
More donuts.
Hold the donuts. Donuts. Go for this one here. Best day RVing. I think we also shared this in a video. Mercedes and I share the emotions along with our RVing experience. And when we pulled into Yosemite and we drove first into Yosemite and we saw El Capitan, And then you drive through that tunnel in Yosemite, and all of a sudden you pop out the other side, and it was perfect. It was the beginning of spring. It was beautiful outside. There was water exploding all over Yosemite. Mercedes and I looked at each other and we both started to cry. You know, the tears just started going down our face, and we looked at each other and we said, "I love you, babe." And we felt like we were on the adventure of our lives. We have not been as close as that day since, but I would say that was probably one of the greatest days of our camping experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so romantic.
Aww.
I love you. That's so sweet. Well,
Oh, I think.
No.
You gotta answer.
Oh, you got to answer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I would say I don't have like a best day. Like he had such a good best day that I can't come close to that. I think that some of the best moments have been when I see my daughter running around, like playing with different, like running through leaves when we left Florida for the first time and crunching on them, and playing in snow. And when I see her being mischievous and exploring different areas, that's probably some of the things that pull in my heart the most.
Right on.
You know.
Definitely more good days than bad, right,
Yeah.
guys?
Oh, absolutely. One of our favorite days RVing for me would have been the day that we were sitting in the Tetons. We had gone to see Jenny Lake, which was something that my grandfather, who recently passed, that was something he took us to and we did when we were younger. Things have changed a lot. You can't see the lake from the campgrounds anymore, which it's a little bit different, but it began to snow. And they weren't. It wasn't just these little tiny flurry flakes. It was gigantic 2-inch snowflakes that would. They were beautiful. You could see them just flowing down.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And it just created like this idyllic camping setting where it was still warm enough to be outside. There's beautiful snowfall. You know, you could still drive anywhere you wanted, and you're in the Tetons, which is just one of the most majestic places we've ever been.
Yeah, that was cool. I think my best day RVing was and it was right after we started. We were staying at Pensacola Beach RV Park, and it's a quarter-mile wide barrier island. And there was a sidewalk going across the street, and we cut between these hotels, and all the beach is public access there. So none of the hotels or businesses can restrict beach access. And so we just roll our little cooler over there and carry our beach chairs and just set up next to the ocean and just sit and watch and listen to the surf and talk and play with the seagulls and whatever. And it was one day we were sitting out there. It had to have been our first week, and I didn't realize that a mutual epiphany was a thing, but we both looked at each other at the same time. She was sitting to my right.
It was so cheesy.
We both looked at each other at the same time and said something right along the lines of, "We're finally free." And it was true. We were finally free of all of this crap that we were supposed to achieve throughout our lives, the society said that we had to do to be successful and to be happy. And we were free from all of it. We could just do what actually made us happy instead of what everyone else said we were supposed to do.
Amen, brother. Man, I like that one.
Hey, no.
Who just drew?
Best
John.
day.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Your turn.
All right.
No, because we're kind of going like this.
It's all screwed up.
Okay. Oh, good. Get some snacks.
It's the bonus question.
Let's see, is it one of mine? Oh, it is one of mine. I gotta answer it anyway. Alright, this is a 3-parter. Yes. It's a little involved, but it makes sense. What was your worst day RVing? Did it make you want to quit? And why didn't you quit? Make you think on this one. Worst day RVing was... We might have the same day. It was this summer. We were driving through Kansas and Bullet got really sick. I mean, in a 12-hour period, he went from being perfectly fine to death's doorstep. And just uncontrollable bloody diarrhea, vomiting. He could hardly stand up. And we had to stop, scrap our travel plans, get him into a vet. Well, the day ended up being a week because he had to stay at the vet for an entire week. We had no idea if he was even going to live. We had really nasty Kansas Midwest storms coming through, and the stress of the storms and having no place to hide. We had absolutely no place that we could go to if a tornado touched down.
Yep.
Tiny
town.
The stress was literally driving Laura crazy, and we were traveling with some other RVing friends of ours. So they went ahead and took off to Colorado to get out of the storms, Tornado Alley, and took Laura with them.
Yep.
And I stayed behind to grab Bullet once, or if he would, make it out of the vet. But it was, that was hell.
Hands down, that was definitely the worst day. I can't even come up with a day that came close, because it was just one of those things that you can talk to yourself rationally and say, there's no clouds in the sky, there's no wind blowing, everything is fine. And in my heart, my dog is in the hospital, and
a tornado could destroy us.
A tornado could come by at any moment.
Well, because the night before they left and took her with, this really nasty storm did come through with like 70-mile-an-hour straight line winds and blackout dust conditions. And
being raised in Kansas, I knew what those storms could potentially create, and where we were was not a good spot.
No, it was a bad spot. Well, and then the other two sides of this, did it make me want to quit? It really didn't. I don't think I even considered wanting to quit after that.
I actually did for a couple of days. Once I left with Travis and Tracy, our friends that took me with them, it took me a minute to kind of de-stress and decompress, and I'm so thankful that I took that opportunity to go with them, because they put me back at normal. Like, they were able to kind of recreate that baseline and be like, no, we're past the storms, everything is fine. I'm still worried about Bullet, but at the same time, we were out of that scenario, and I was able to basically calm down the panic attacks. And
so that would be the why you didn't want to quit?
Yeah, I think for, looking back on it, I think if I hadn't left with them, I think the fear and wanting to quit would have been a lot stronger, and they were able to kind of bring me back to that normal point.
Oh yeah, I can see if you were forced to stay there in Kansas for another 5 days or whatever it was that.
And there were storms that repeated every night. So.
Oh yeah, it was every night at the same time. Clouds started building.
Yeah, that one sucked.
Well, what about you guys?
I don't know. I mean, I think we've been pretty lucky. We haven't had for me, I don't think we've had that time from, the worst thing I think that we've had are some rough days between us. But as far as for me, it never made me want to quit our team. I don't know. So I think for us, that story about not knowing if you were going to see your dog again, we've been lucky enough not to be in that kind of a place. We just had a couple of rough, bumpy days between us, but it wasn't anything that wasn't solved by the next day, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good.
And I haven't really had very many bad days, but one bad day I did have was the day that we left California. It was pouring raining out. We drove all the way to, I believe, Oregon. Nothing went right. It's one of those days where just nothing goes right.
Those
no matter
days.
what you do, you almost expect what's going to happen next, kind of a day. And we drove too long, a lot longer than we should have. We had to drive about 15 miles per hour through these beautiful places that we were looking forward to see as we were going through these passes, but the fog was so thick you couldn't see 30 feet out in front. And we pulled into the campground, and all the spots, it was pouring, raining still, there was no spots. We were a long rig, so we had to find a specific spot, and all the spots have different sewer on different sides, so you had to pick the right side. It was just a nightmare, and I went a little bit too tight on a corner, and I ended up, and we did a video on this.
Yeah.
We actually hit another guy. We hit poor old Bill, and poor old Bill's wife was cuckoo. She was nuts, and she come running out, and she's accusing us of a hit and run, and the police showed up, and the ambulance showed up, but I think that's been the roughest day, and it's because I pushed too fast. I should have slowed down or stopped. You don't have to be anywhere at a certain time when you're RVing. We have no place to be, which is one of the coolest things, right?
Yeah.
But yet I'm always still in a hurry. Like John was talking about, being outside of that box, breaking outside of that box is a weird feeling.
Yeah.
When you're brought up with all these belief systems and, and ideas of what things should look like. And so I still work on going slow at everything that I do because I move fast on everything. But do you think I'm getting better at slowing down a little bit?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, good.
You are.
Good.
Did it make you want to quit RVing?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it made me want to pray for Bill because he was married to that woman. She was crazy, and we did pray for Bill.
Yeah.
But it didn't make me want to quit RVing. Is there another piece or?
No, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Next question, Laura.
No,
No, you're next.
I'm next.
Who
No,
did
I
worst
just
day?
drew that
You
question.
did worst day.
So then it's you.
Oh, yeah,
No.
it's you, honey.
No.
Yeah.
Laura,
No,
I drew the last question. It's your turn.
Yeah,
to
it's
draw.
But I drew
This
one
is
right
BS.
before you.
You drew one before me.
You must know it's a bad question or something. Is it a really
Are we out of order?
Is there one left?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Oh, we got
7.
plenty, man.
Oh,
I hope you guys got that beer and popcorn because we're still going.
We're gonna
No,
go
really,
to the
you should take a
questions
break.
I've gone.
Okay, best thing. What does it say? Best thing
Your spouse.
your spouse does.
oh.
Oh, that's a good
I
one.
don't know if I like this one.
Boy, what's coming down the chute on this one?
Think, 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 think.
Oh man.
John is one of those people who really takes care of everything that he can. So if I'm not feeling good, he jumps into cook. If I can't work that day, he jumps into work. And I'm really blessed in the fact that he sets up basically the entire rig when we get stopped, because I'll manhandle the dogs and get them all situated and keep them out of the way. And then he's a champ at just going and getting things done. And he's just, yeah, you're always good at executing all the punch items, and then everything goes smoothly.
Thank you. I'd say the best thing that Laura does is she figures out whatever our business needs, and then she learns how to do it, and then she goes and does it. So in the very beginning, we didn't have a clue about video editing. Knew nothing. She just watched a bunch of videos on it, learned how to do it, trial and error, and then taught me how to do it. We needed a channel logo for us. She just figured out how to make it and did it. We needed graphic design. She just figured out how to make how to start doing graphic design and making all the stuff that we needed, so we never have to hire anyone for anything. Our social media stuff. She identified that I was good at filming and getting videos uploaded and that kind of stuff. Not good at remembering to take pictures for Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And so she just goes and does that and posts them and just handles it and just kind of fills in the gaps. She's been great at identifying the things that I don't think about.
I think the best thing, you do so many good things, it's hard to pick this
So many.
Loaded and cocked.
But I think that one of the best things that you do, especially in terms of like our RV life, but you would do this in general, is that you take such good care of me, and like the setup, like I've never touched a poop pipe, you know what I mean? Like you just take care of so much stuff, and then the driving, you do the driving and you have that weight on your shoulders, and you take care of that, and just all this setup stuff that you do have the skill set for it too, but the way that you just do it and you never complain about it, like that's the thing. I mean,
It's huge.
yeah, and just I don't have to worry about such a big part of it, that I'm just really grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I guess what I would say, and this is hands down, it popped right in my head, Mercedes keeps us organized. She's so well organized that it drives her crazy that we can't find a routine, because she likes to plan everything out. And me, I'm a shoot from the hip kind of guy. I don't care what comes next, but I don't want to plan it because that makes me stress out about it. But Mercedes keeps us organized. She does all that stuff, so I don't have to think. And it makes our team a lot stronger, because I can do the dumb stuff and she does all the smart stuff.
We have some elements of that going on as well.
I don't know who it is now.
No.
You gotta look at your own self.
Okay. God, I hope I don't get my question. Okay.
How bad is this coming question?
It's a horrible question. It's a horrible question. Okay.